So you got a nasty letter in the mail from CRA saying that you owe some more taxes. With that, you're probably going to be owing some interest and potentially penalties. I've had some new clients come to me and ask, hey, I got this letter in the mail from CRA, I owe these interest and penalties, can I have them waived? Because it was an honest mistake, and this is a little bit unfair. And I tell them that in most circumstances, CRA will not waive interest and penalties. They're not all that understanding. However, there is some circumstances in which CRA will agree to waive those interest and penalties. And those circumstances are if there's extraordinary circumstances, such as your house burns down, there was a natural disaster, there was a death in the family, or you had a severe illness and you just couldn't file your tax return. We saw this with Fort McMurray in the prior years. The second circumstance would be if CRA was the one that made a mistake, they will waive the interest and penalties resulting from that. And the last is if you have financial hardship and you show CRA, look, I just can't pay these taxes, and so now all this interest is going to be accruing on those taxes, CRA may waive that interest. But I tell clients, it's only in very rare circumstances that CRA will accept this. You have to make an application to CRA, they review it, it's their discretion whether they will waive the interest and penalties, and most times they don't. CRA has another little interesting program called the Voluntary Disclosure Program. So this is for taxpayers who have some skeletons in the closet on their tax returns and they just can't sleep well at night because they have a fear that CRA is going to come after them. And so this is circumstances where maybe the taxpayer claimed some expenses when they shouldn't have, didn't report some income, didn't file a return when they should have, or overall just did a little something sketchy on their tax return in the prior years. So CRA says, look, if you come clean to us and you pay your taxes, we may waive some interest and penalties, but more importantly, we're not going to criminally prosecute you. So you have to make this application to CRA in order to do this, and CRA doesn't always accept these. So sometimes CRA won't accept these in circumstances where you know that CRA is going to come after you. Maybe you're part of a corporation and the other shareholders have had letters from CRA and now you know that your turn's coming. You can't just try and get ahead of that because you know that CRA is going to send you a letter. So CRA won't accept that if you kind of know that's coming on the way. And when you file your voluntary disclosure with CRA, you have to make sure that you're very complete with what you submit. You can't try and hide a part of the truth. You have to lay everything on the table for CRA. And in the past, CRA was more understanding and more accepting of these voluntary disclosures, but in 2018, they actually clamped down a bit on what they were accepting. So they're tightening this up, so this is not available to everybody. We mostly saw the voluntary disclosures with people who had offshore bank accounts, and we're kind of doing some shady tax planning in that regard. But this is open for people that maybe innocently didn't know that they couldn't claim certain expenses. So I would recommend that if you have some skeletons in your closet that you want to maybe get off your chest, go and talk to a tax professional. Maybe you can make a voluntary disclosure and you can be free from criminal prosecution if it does get accepted. And also interest and penalties can be waived in some circumstances. So thank you very much for watching the video and have a good day. And if you're thinking tax, think debts.